We're going live. All right. Let's see. We are live. Excellent. Okay, now we're gonna sit here and we're gonna try to switch over to the phone, which may or may not work. I'm thinking it's gonna work. I'm feeling optimistic about this working. We shall see momentarily.
You don't want to just use it.
You guys know I don't.
That's pretty good.
I know, but I'm a strange individual. Okay. Switch. See that? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Guys, am I live?
These people gotta really have mercy on us.
What do we do here? Did this stop working? Oops. Okay. Let's see if yeah. I think we're doing stuff. Put it the other way. Excellent. Okay. So we gotta mess with this thing. Okay, guys, are you hearing us? Are you there? Let us know, please. We're gonna get situated here. I'm embarrassing Carl, guys. Carl is visually embarrassed. I'm sorry to do that to you, Carl. Okay.
All right.
Nobody's talking. I mean, we do have 12 people viewing. Uh-oh. Carl?
It's out of battery.
It's out of battery. Okay, we're going back to the phone.
Can we do that?
Yes, we can.
This is the
Sorry, guys, we're having it. We're
technical
very good at
difficulty.
this. Okay, that's this one. Yes, it is. Okay, so in this case, we're gonna unplug this. With that, we're gonna reclaim host. And we're gonna get rid of this thing entirely. Okay. Okay. All right. Here we are. Hello and welcome. Episode 6. Spooky. Audio's good. Excellent. Glad the audio's good. That's important. Welcome back. Episode 6 Q&A. Ask us everything. Yes, it is comedy here. As usual, we do have a good time here at Abundant Living for sure. So we'll get to your questions momentarily. Look at that. Our amazing admin executive assistant Auda just printed out the retreat schedule, half of it. So we can talk about that, which is going to be fun. But let's jump into the retreat a minute. I'm going to stop the humor here and let's jump into the retreat here for a minute. Our retreat is officially live and launched. We need the link. I will get that, in fact, while we talk, and we'll stick that in the chat. So we'll go ahead and put the link in the chat to sign up for the retreat. We are really excited about that. It starts July 16th. It's really going to be, I think, a lot of fun for us as well. It's kind of a crash course, Ecuador 101. It's also designed to have a lot of fun as well. So people will come down, they'll have a great time. They'll learn everything about Ecuador, meet with the experts, Q&As, panels, see the area, see real estate. We're having presentations on just about everything, tax, legal. We're even having a health day where some of the natural health practitioners in the area will be sort of doing various activities and presentations and so on and so forth. So it's really a packed tour. We're staying at a beautiful hotel called Descanso del Toro. So that's a lot of fun as well. And yeah, anything to add, Carl, about the retreat?
I think you said it all.
I said it all. I left him speechless. Carl is very rarely speechless, so that's good. Okay, I'm going ahead and I am
Put the link
pasting the link in the chat. That is not it. So that is no good. I'm going to go back. Carl, I don't think Carl knows how to use Macs, do you, Carl?
That's true. It is what it is.
Okay, so I'm going back. We're putting the link in and we will get to your questions here. So that is the link if you'd like to sign up for the retreat. We'd love to have you. It's an 8-day retreat here in Vilcabamba in July. And that'll be a lot of fun. Okay, Hello, guys. Can you talk about money in Vilca, Loja, and small towns? I've heard the $20 bill is often too big to spend, and everyone likes $5 and lower. Carl?
Yeah, there's some truth to that. Now it's not impossible to break a 20. You can even break $100 bill. But yeah, some stores, might not have change for your 20 if you're only going to buy something for $1. And Ecuador is very cash based. You can't use credit cards here in Vilcabamba. In the city, you can use credit cards in the bigger stores, of course. So yeah, it's good to make change. If you need change, you can ask a taxi to break a 5, break a 10. They'll usually have a lot more change because they charge smaller amounts. And yeah, it's definitely not impossible. For me, for example, because people know me here, sometimes I'll go to a store and I don't have the change. They say, "Oh, just pay me later." And like, please write it down because I'll forget. They don't forget. They ask me the next time. So that's kind of what happens a lot here in Vilcabamba. My wife goes around and buys a bunch of groceries and doesn't pay. Then I have to do the run and go pay people later. But sometimes it's like a week later, at least a few days later, and they keep tabs. So it's kind of cool, when they get to know you and they trust you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And the only thing I would add to that is that a lot of stores, a good number of stores, accept Satoshis as well. And then there's a new app as well that this guy, Andy, who's local here in town, created to solve this problem. I watched an intro video on it. I haven't used it yet. It looks awesome, actually. So we'll see. But yeah, change is at a little bit of a premium here in Ecuador. What's the percentage of businesses that take credit cards in Vilca compared to Loja? I mean, Carl kind of covered that. Many more in Loja, certainly. I don't know. Hotels here would take a credit card, probably. I'm sure.
Yeah, a few, like hotels mostly. I don't think any stores will take credit cards here in Vilca.
Not that I know of. Yeah.
Like Descanso del Toro, I think will take
credit cards. I was sure they would take credit. Yeah.
Places like that.
Okay. Audio's good. Thank you, guys. All right. What about cryptos in Vilca? Do some businesses take them? Are they growing in popularity in Vilca? Yeah, I mean, in Ecuador in general, cryptos are, they're not used a lot for transactions, but they're certainly owned. And in Vilcabamba, like I said, there was a guy here locally who helped a lot of stores get set up with Satoshi to be able to accept Satoshis. There's a strong Vilcabamba community here for sure as well. Let's see, Carl interviewed Griff Green on our channel recently, who is a sort of big shot in the crypto world and is the founder and creator of a charity-based crypto called Giveth, which actually we're going to be partnering with on our charity here in Vilcabamba. So yeah, anything to add on?
Well, I was just going to say, for those who don't know what Satoshis are, which, if you're not like super savvy with crypto, Satoshis are fractions of Bitcoin. So it's basically, a lot of stores accept Bitcoin, just fractions of Bitcoin. And there's an app that, it's with the Lightning Network, which is basically instant payment, zero fees or almost very little fees, like almost zero fees. And yeah, quite a few stores will let you pay in Bitcoin. So it's kind of nice. I mean, there's very few places in Ecuador, I would say, that do that. Vilcabamba probably has the most percentage, per capita of places that accept crypto as a form of payment. So it's cool.
Yep. What is the best airline route from Florida to Loja? Well, if you can find, first of all, Florida to Quito, which is where I'd fly into, flies direct. So there's lots of direct flights, Florida to Quito. So that would be number one. And if you can time it up to get in, so you don't have to sleep in Quito, and be able to catch the local flight, which would be on Aero Regional, which is spelled AERO Regional. That would be the local airline that would get you from Quito to Loja. So again, just check their schedule, and then try and time it up so you get in and you only have a few hours or something and you can get on the other flight, as opposed to having to sleep in Quito, which sometimes you would have to do. What is the approximate cost to have a pool built? We're actually meeting with a pool guy tomorrow, and we're going to go over that in a little more detail, but it just totally depends on the size. That is I've seen pools built for as little as $8,000, very little pools. I've seen guys spend 40, 50 grand on a pool. So, and that's just completely based on size.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how hard it is to sell properties in Ecuador? How long do properties sit on the market? Can Ecuadorian people afford properties above $200,000? Are gringos the only buyers? Great question.
Good question. Yeah.
So I want to start a little bit with the history here. I only go back to 2013 here. Carl goes back slightly longer, but not involved in real estate. So I have a pretty good sense of the market since 2013. We used to be based out of Loja. We're actually getting back into Loja here now, but I was dealing mostly with locals at that time in terms of brokering deals. And at the end, it's just totally dependent on the market and the area you're in as far as how long they sit. So right now, the market's really good in the areas that we work in. Properties are not sitting, right? So if something sat for 6 months now, that would be a really long time. Most things are selling relatively quickly. Back then, 14, 15, 16, for example, properties were sitting, 12 months would almost be a quick sale back then, right? Properties were sitting almost indefinitely. The market was terrible. As far as the second part of the question, yeah. So Ecuadorian, first of all, foreigners play a minuscule role in the real estate market here. I mean, tiny. They are probably less than 1/10 of 1% or something of the real estate, or less than that, right? Of the transactions in Ecuador. So if you're looking at real estate anywhere, it's the market price, and the market is the market. It has absolutely nothing to do with foreigners, and foreigners in general are not, they're not transacting much. Now, of course, in Vilcabamba they are, but Vilcabamba is a little bit cheaper than Malacatos, right? Which is right next door, where foreigners are not heavily involved at all in that market. So yes, Ecuadorians have capital for sure. Banks lend as well. There's a lot of wealth in Ecuador. It's a different culture. They don't show it. So there's a lot of people who live very modest lives who have a huge amount of wealth in this country. It's a country that was very free and not super regulated in various times, where people were able to sort of create a lot of wealth. So I don't know, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the question was in general about Ecuador. Like different areas have very different, standards. Around here, the things that sell quickly are things that are in and around Vilcabamba, that are priced right. It's true, 6 months, things can sell in much less than that. I think in the cities like Quito, Guayaquil, Cuenca, things tend to move quickly as well. So there's high demand in the city. That's what I hear, that there's, like we're in the countryside here. So I would say, yeah, it definitely varies a little bit. If the property is like well located and desirable and at a fair market price, it's very, very quick sell.
Right now.
So, and then Ecuadorians can afford properties, and all, like, the way I would put it is, yeah, Jesse says, gringos don't affect, or foreigners don't affect the market as much here. We've said this before, Vilcabamba, Malacatos, they've always been very desirable places for people from the city of Loja to have their weekend homes, their summer homes, their vacational homes. And that they were the ones driving the market for most of the years. Now there are more expats now in Vilcabamba, Malacatos area. I would say the way that I can see the expats having a real effect on market prices is for properties that are a little further away, that are more remote in the area. In this area that like Lojanos, local people would not necessarily value this property as much as we would, right? Because a typical expat that comes here doesn't want to live right in town, doesn't want to live where it's loud. They want to have privacy. They want to have maybe a little more land. Those types of properties, which used to be more agricultural, now are becoming places where expats buy and build homes. So I think the expats are driving those properties at a higher price, like in
the immediate area. That's probably true. Yeah, I agree. We've got complaints about micro shaking in the past. Try not to whack the table and nobody will complain. We don't want you guys to complain. We like you guys. Okay. Let's see, the pool, we covered that. What is your opinion of Hacienda San Joaquin properties and area? Is security evident in some of those homes necessary or overkill? Great question. Why don't you take that? What do you think of Hacienda?
Well, the security is evident. In order to get in, you have to go through a gate. There are security guards there 24/7, every day of the week, every time of the day. There's somebody there at the gate that will either open or close the gate. During the nighttime, they lock the gate. But yeah, during the day, they've actually started, asking anyone for their credentials to be able to get in, to make sure that people were, they used to let me in without asking me anything. And all of a sudden they were like, hey, where are you going?
They still let me in.
Yeah. Well, me too now. Yeah. But there was a time where, they were a little which, in a way is good. So it is evident from that standpoint. Is it
But he
overkill?
mentions, he mentions the security evident in some of those homes. So
Oh,
I
the
don't,
homes.
I don't know. Have you seen? I haven't seen any homes in San Joaquin that
No, we had one listed that had bulletproof windows,
Is
which
that
is
right?
a,
Oh, that was
yeah.
yeah.
But that was like an anomaly. Nobody else
Yeah.
has those.
That was like an
extremely
ex-CIA
expensive.
agent or something.
Right, right. I think actually most houses in San Joaquin don't have bars
any
on the windows.
security, yeah.
They don't have that much security. I think probably most people leave their doors unlocked because
Yeah.
it's very safe, the whole the general area there.
Yeah, but as far as San Joaquin in general, I mean, it's a beautiful valley. The homes in there are beautiful. It's the only gated community that's truly gated. Gracias. We actually just built one. That it would be the second gated community, I guess, in this area. So if you're looking for that, it's really the place to be. It's mostly foreigners in there, although in recent years, several Ecuadorian families have bought in there as well. I think it's a beautiful place to live. And in fact, there's a lot of value here. Some of those homes have sold, those homes are well built for the most part. And they use good materials. And the prices in there are absolutely not outrageous, or they haven't been up until now. There was even some really good deals a few years ago in there. So I would say that the only issue that San Joaquin has is there's sometimes in the HOA, right, the association, people argue with each other. So there's some bad blood in the association out there. I don't know how big of a deal it is. I certainly know lots of people who live out there and couldn't be happier and don't get involved in that stuff. So I don't think it's something you have to necessarily worry about or anything like that. That would be probably the only downside I can think of. They're actually paving the road to get out there with near certainty now in the next month. So that'll be nice because right now it's a bumpy, sort of dusty drive out there. And yeah, security is not an issue at all. I mean, in San Joaquin or really anywhere else. Okay. When Carl and Ryan talk about their monthly average spend, does that include housing expenses?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I can kind of give you an example. Our rent is not bad. We rent an unfurnished place, so we have all of our own furniture. We pay $350 a month, and we have to add electricity. He charges a little bit for the propane as well. So yeah, it definitely includes housing in our budget.
Yeah,
and
I think that would be the same for Ryan also.
Yeah.
All right. What about American Express travelers checks? Yeah, I actually heard a funny story about that recently. But no, basically, I think you don't want to bring those, but you can get them cashed. You will find a way to get them cashed after you finish with the bureaucratic nightmare to do so. But no, it's not something that's going to be super useful to you. What I would do is just have an ATM card. If you don't want to bring a lot of cash, just have an ATM card with you that you can access easily, that works well for international, getting money internationally. You could also just open a bank account here through a POA and wire yourself money would be easy to do as well. What would your realistic monthly estimate be for a family of 4 living in Vilcabamba, including housing costs like rent and utilities? I'm a fan of the $2,000 a month number. Now, Carl and Ryan, well, Carl spends quite a bit less than that on his 4-person family. Ryan spends, I think, about that on his 3-person family. But I think I like that number. That's very comfortable. So, you can do much cheaper than that. But, at $2,000 a month, you really don't have to worry too much about what you're spending. You can live pretty well. That's a number I like, but I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think Ryan and I gave different figures last time. He might have said 1,500 and I said maybe 1,200.
Oh, did he say 15? Okay.
I'm pretty sure he said it, including travel and all that kind of stuff.
And these guys are not living badly at all.
No.
I mean, I've seen Carl the way Carl spends money.
I don't budget everything too, so like it's kind of a ballpark to be honest. But like if you put like 500 for the rent. Ryan, yeah, Ryan
keeps track of every penny.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, these guys are organized. If you put like $500 a month is a good average for rental. Anything you're probably going to want to spend at least that much with utilities and stuff. Food, a couple $100 a week, right? You're already at like 1,300, and then with everything else, like 1,500, 2,000, and that's like living very comfortably. I mean, $200 a week in food here, including restaurant and stuff, like you're eating.
Yeah, you're
really well.
Kind of do what you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you start an agriculture business in the Valley, would your best market be in Loja, since everyone grows their own food in the country? How you sell your goods, especially if you want to scale? Great question. I mean, I wouldn't start an agricultural business necessarily in Vilcabamba just because it's expensive land for residential use. So it's kind of the metrics don't work as well there, right? Where I would go elsewhere where you have similar conditions, but land is cheaper. That makes more sense for agricultural use. As far as selling it, it just depends. Well, and by the way, there's certainly ideas that can work here agriculturally that you can do, but you need something where your margins are significantly higher to justify the land cost, essentially. But as far as selling agriculture in general in Ecuador, yeah, there at scale, almost anything is profitable. Certainly there's much better and worse numbers within that. So, if you're producing sugarcane, for example, which is really common in this area, the market goes up and down, but I understand, they're usually somewhere between about $3,000 and $12,000 in sales per hectare. That's not great, right? On the stuff that we do, we try to get well over 20. We try to get into the 30, 40, $50,000 per hectare per year, range in sales. And so you want to sort of focus on crops that either have a niche market or are not grown in Ecuador, right? So, and there's a lot of them. So we can talk about that tomorrow a little bit on the investor Q&A. But yeah, there's that's fine to sell in the domestic market. But excuse me, even if you're producing things that are commonly grown here at scale, they do very well. You can still make a lot of money. So agriculture is a great business. It's also treated very well in the tax and labor laws. Thank you. Is the retreat going to have options for people who have mobility issues? For example, if you aren't able to ride horseback, etc.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, there'll be options for people who can't do the physical activities. There'll always be a second option. So depending on the type of group we have, we'll decide. But there'll definitely be plenty of things to do. We can drive rather than horseback. We can go to a close place and definitely there'll be plenty of activities for people who have mobility issues.
Yeah, and then we put optionality in on everything. So there's any activity that's strenuous at all. We have a second and optional other activities to do, because obviously not everybody's gonna be up for that or just want to, right? Some people want to go on a hike, for example. Some people don't. So absolutely. Wholeness Spirit Soul Body asks, how's the internet stability and being able to work remotely online?
It's very stable. In the area here, there's fiber optic internet. You can have 120 megabytes per second, I think is the highest, which is very, very high speed internet. My understanding, it's very good. It doesn't cut out very often at all, maybe a few times a year, maybe or something.
Yeah, I mean, I just had a funny anecdotal story. We've been having online Zoom calls I have nonstop for a long time now. And a team member is currently traveling and in Chicago. And he's been on many of these calls with me. He's in Chicago on Wi-Fi, and he's been unable to keep his camera on to support the Zoom calls. And here in Ecuador, we are smooth and stable, no issues. So it's a running joke, he's got to get out of that third world country and get down here where, where the internet's good. But no, the internet's great. How much are the ATM charges? Yeah, locally, they're almost nothing. It's more what your bank would charge back home. I know that, what is it? It's, shoot, I'm forgetting is it JP Morgan? No, it's not. If you Google it, you'll find it in 2 seconds. I always know this, but I'm forgetting. There's a financial institution back home that has 0 foreign ATM fees. So if you want to open an account with them and put your money in that account, they will even cover the Ecuadorian side ATM fees. But the local ones are very low. It's the ones back home that charge. Some of them charge a lot for the international charge. Romanesque, is internet available in Chiquil? and Kinara, are the speeds good? Any rural area around Vilca is still waiting for the internet?
To be honest, I don't know. I think it's not all the way to Chiquil, the fiber optic.
Fiber optic? I don't know either. I thought I would have said it was, but I don't know either. Yeah, it certainly is in Kinara.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so fiber, well, and just to answer your question, the internet's good even if you don't have fiber optic. So you do find an internet literally anywhere in the country, even if you're somewhere where there isn't currently good internet. The internet company will run like relay stations out to you. We've done that for clients in the past, and they will get you good internet. So you can have good internet literally anywhere. But yeah, in Kinara, definitely there's fiber optic, and that is definitely a step up. Chiquil, I'm not positive either if they've run the fiber optic up there or not.
Charles Schwab.
Charles Schwab, is that what it is? Okay.
A bunch of people wrote that.
Awesome.
Brian.
Awesome. Okay, Brian asks, yesterday there was an interview with a homesteader named Chris. Do you know what type of stuff was in the kit that his family brought? You know, he's launching a business actually, which we're going to be talking about on the channel to get people set up here with solar, sort of an off-grid setup kind of business. So we'll be interviewing him about that. I don't really know. I am not a super detail-oriented person. And I haven't asked him all of those specifics and details, but he basically, yeah, I know it's a battery pack and solar panels and whatever ancillary items, need to go along with that. Brian, if you want to reach out, I'd be happy to put you in touch with Chris, no problem. Okay. Yeah, we got the bank suggestions. Thank you guys. Roman says, does everyone bank in Loja? What are the Vilca options? There's a credit union in Vilcabamba, maybe even two. I don't know.
There's two, yeah. Cooperativa, they're not banks. They're credit unions, I guess.
Yeah, or a savings and loan, or I don't know the exact, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they still, it's like a bank. I guess the only difference, what's the difference?
I think it's the difference. Well, okay. The difference is, well, first of all, they're regulated as a bank. So there isn't massive differences in that way, but I think that they more or less function as a savings and loan. So there are some differences there, which I can't speak to. Yes, most people bank in, well, no, a lot of people in Vilcabamba actually use Cockpay. And Cockpay, I mean, we have a loan from Cockpay in Loja. I mean, Cockpay is, in several places. It's a legit cooperativa. But yeah, the banks are all in Loja, and most people probably have accounts there, as well. Okay. And there's a million ATMs here. So, my Banco de Loja, for example, or my Banco Bolivariano, or my Banco de Guayaquil accounts, like I can access all of those here, no problem. Let's see.
We have a 7 and 9-year-old. What education options are available for non-Spanish speakers? Currently, there's the one private school called La Calandria that's available here in Vilcabamba for non-Spanish speakers. That's, I would say, the only option at this point.
Yeah, is that mostly in English? I didn't even know that.
It's bilingual.
It's bilingual. Cool.
But English-speaking kids go there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people here homeschool. That's probably, for foreigners, might even be the predominant sort of form of education. And there's a lot of homeschooling groups and kids that get together, and play groups and activities and sports and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of amazing online programs. My daughter does one of those. And then there's all the normal, not the normal Spanish speaking schools, but you mentioned 7 and 9-year-old. If you want to send your kids to school, they will literally pick up the language in like 3 months. And they'll be, they'll be basically fluent in Spanish. Okay. Hope how are the cannabis laws now? Yeah. So right now you can grow hemp. You can grow it for industrial use. You can grow the flowers, but they have to be non-THC. Should I share this? It's pretty likely those rules are going to change over the next period of time, and they will allow the THC in one form or another. We shall see, but that is very likely to happen. What about internet in rural areas?
I was just going to touch on the cannabis rules. I think I don't know the figure, but I think there's a certain amount that you're allowed to have for personal consumption,
Oh,
I
yes.
think you can maybe have one plant.
I don't know the exact law on that.
There's a law. We'd have to look. We should get that information further. But I think you can grow for personal consumption as well.
I think they
Small
decriminalized small amounts of possession as well.
Right.
So
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm referring to.
yeah. Yep. No, I've heard that as well. Okay. What about internet in rural areas? What are the options? Yeah, again, most places now have fiber optic, and the very few places that don't, they are in process of running it out. So fiber optic, it's unbelievable. Like they've run fiber optic all the way to Zumba, from here. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So most of the country has fiber optic. I mean, I'm building a house in Tumianuma where literally nobody lives, not even in Tumianuma, like outside of Tumianuma where no one lives, where even less people live, and there's fiber optic there, so yeah. And again, even if there's not fiber optic, you can get internet as well.
Yeah, I would say as long as there's electricity,
yeah,
usually the fiber optic lines will run on the electric lines. So, that gives you an idea.
Yep. You mentioned opening a bank account via power of attorney. How long does it take to be active? Same day. If you send cash from international bank accounts, how long does it take to clear and be available? If it's under 10 grand, it's normally 24 hours or less. If it's over 10 grand, it can take a couple of days. As I've seen it take as much as, maybe 3 to 5 days. But as long as you're sending the accompanying documents, it's usually 24 to 48 hours to clear even a larger international wire. Okay, Ashley asks, I like to do road cycling, and I know Carl cycles in Vilcabamba. Very hardcore with the 4-year-olds out there. I brought my 3-year-old last week. That was hilarious. How long does it take? Oh no, that's the wrong question. Would he say the local roads were safe to cycle on, or would he recommend trail cycling instead?
Yeah, so I've done both. I used to bike a lot more than I do now. I would bike on the roads. I did the loop. I mean, I did a lot of different loops. It's very safe. There are bikers who bike from Loja to Vilcabamba. Now, when you're on the main highway, you got to be careful a little bit. There are cars, trying to pass each other, and like normal, they're windy roads. But the trails are really nice too. So like in and around Vilcabamba, most likely you can just go around the trails, go around the roads, the dirt roads, up to the waterfall, up to the rivers and things like that. So you can definitely do both. There's definitely nice trails all along the rivers. They're public trails anyone can use.
Yeah, and Ecuador does have a cycling culture. It's one of the sort of few things in that way that it has caught on here. So there's races all over the country, and people bike, and there's both the sort of dirt bikes as well as I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a cyclist, but the mountain bikes, I should say, as well as the street bikes or whatever those are.
Yeah, mountain biking is definitely more popular in Vilcabamba. There's a mountain bike shop. There's a lot of young Ecuadorians that are mountain bikers. They do downhill mountain bike. Yeah.
Okay, Joshua asks, is homeschooling regulated legal in Ecuador, or is it kind of a live and let live situation? I can talk about that a little. Do you know the actual legalities?
My understanding was that Ecuadorian citizens had to go to school.
Yeah, it's compulsory education for sure. I mean, like anywhere. But yeah, I don't know that they have a homeschooling out, but I'm not positive about that. I'd need to ask a lawyer.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
But to answer the question, it's definitely a live and let live situation. Very few things are enforced here. And there's a few things that are enforced, but in general, nobody's enforcing that, sir. Okay. Roman asks, is the Otavalo market the best location to buy handmade clothes by indigenous people? Do other cities have options? It's probably the best. Yeah, it's probably the best. Other cities do have options, certainly.
Yeah, it's the best, but you can go to Loja and get the same stuff. You'll pay, I don't know, 10% more, maybe something like that. It's not necessarily worth going to Otavalo if you just want to buy a few blankets or something. You can get all that stuff in Loja, Cuenca, huge markets, in all the cities. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Susan. Appreciate it. All right. Yeah. Thank you as well. Wholeness. Appreciate, or Fernando, I should say. Appreciate you guys tuning in. So we've reached the end. Oh, they're rolling in. Does Vilca have hair salons that do hair color and such, or do you have to go to a larger city? Tattoo parlors as well?
Those are interesting questions. I can just assume they must do hair color here. There's a bunch of different hair salons in Vilcabamba. Ecuadorians love to, have clean cut haircuts. Yeah, the women, you do their hair, so it's always full. Every time I go to get a haircut, there's always people. I have
And
to
there's
wait.
several of them. I mean,
Yeah,
there's not just one. There's quite a few. I don't
No,
know
there's
how
at
many.
least 5, 6,
Yeah,
maybe
something
more.
like that.
Just in Vilcabamba. So definitely, there's a tattoo parlor as well.
Yep.
Right downtown.
Yep. And there's always been one. Like some they've come and gone, but there's always been at least one, one tattoo parlor as well. Okay. Roman says Jesse has talked about some lake options in Ecuador for future real estate. Any updates? Where are these mysterious lakes? Yeah, the two lakes that I'm most interested in are outside of Manta. They're about an hour and a half or so outside of Manta. I don't recall the names of the areas. No updates other than they are on my list. We are going through a restructuring and a scaling here at the real estate company. That is well underway. And once we get through that, then we'll be focusing more on the residential and agricultural projects in a larger way. And I will absolutely get to those lakes at some point. Please don't beat me to it and have some fun out there. Yeah, Charles Schwab, I think that is correct. Can you speak on the wealth tax, which I believe is now implemented in Ecuador? That is new to me. I'm not sure. I don't think there's any new taxes. I would have heard about it. You know,
My understanding is they got rid of some of those
Yeah,
inheritance taxes.
yeah, years ago.
No, but I think Loja also got rid of some other thing.
New other ones.
That's what I was told,
Okay.
that now basically no inheritance tax of any kind.
Oh yeah, I did hear something about that. Yeah. Obviously, we don't know here as far as any sort of super detailed information, but the tax, to me, the tax code in Ecuador is pretty good. We're in several businesses. We have quite a few businesses, quite a few enterprises that we do here, and I've always been impressed by how little taxes that you pay. For example, on real estate, as long as you're not selling more than 2 properties a year in rural areas, there's 0 capital gains. Even in the rural areas, the capital gains is 10%. I mean, the capital gains is 10%, goes down by half a point every year, right? So after 20 years, it's 0. So yeah, the tax code here is pretty friendly, I would say, in general. Yeah, I don't know. They tried to do some crazy tax stuff under Correa years ago. It failed. So yeah, I don't know specifically exactly what the inheritance tax laws are, but they're not something anybody complains
Just
about.
since we're talking about it, I think someone answered it in the comments. I don't know how accurate it is, but Jasper Frenchy said if your global wealth is 1 million or more, but less than 1.2 million, you owe a one-time tax of 1% of the amount over 1 million. For any amount over 1.2 million, you additionally will owe a one-time tax. Is that in Ecuador?
No, I don't think that's correct. That was they did that once when they had the earthquake in 2016. So maybe that's what you're referring to. But there is what's called you do have to report your patrimonio, which is like your wealth here annually if it's over a certain amount. But I report that every year, and there is no tax on that. So I don't believe that that's accurate, but I'm not an accountant or lawyer. But I believe that's incorrect. I think you probably are reading that from a one-time thing they did in 2016 to raise some funds for the earthquake that happened at that time, which was hurt a lot of people a lot because the way that they report it, it can look that you're more wealthy than you are. So you can have, titles to properties that make, that add up to their numbers, but doesn't mean that you have a lot of cash or even that those properties are necessarily worth what they're assessed at or so on and so forth. Okay, let's see. What about Peru? Any good cities to visit just across the border? Do you visit Peru at all? I mean, people really like the Mancora area, which is the closest beaches to here. I've never been there.
I've never been to Mancora either.
Yeah.
I've been to Piura, which is right on the border. I traveled all the way through Peru and back by bus.
Oh yeah.
Both ways. Yeah. So we visited a little bit. I spent most of my time in the Sacred Valley, Cusco, that whole zone down there, close to Machu Picchu. So I don't really know much of the rest of Peru. Definitely worth checking out Machu Picchu and that whole area. I mean, it's kind of one of those things you want to check out. But close to here, there's Mancora, which is a nice beach that people like to go to. It's maybe a 6-hour drive from here. maybe a little less.
5 probably. Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we skipped this question real quick. This might be a stupid question from Saucer Tennis, but how is garbage taken care in Vilca? So in Vilcabamba downtown, there's garbage pickup everywhere in the urban area. If you live on the outskirts, most of the time you have to drop your own garbage to the dump. What we do, we just call a taxi when we have a little bit, and we, put it in the back of a pickup truck for $1.50. They'll drop it off for us.
Yep. Okay, let's see. So let's move up there. Thoughts on pros and cons of pursuing Ecuadorian citizenship as a secondary, or is it just permanent residency good enough for most expats? Very few expats pursue the citizenship route. It's not crazy difficult. It takes some time. So it is lengthy. It's a lengthy process. And there's a test that you have to take where you need to know some Ecuadorian history and so on and so culture and so on and so forth. But, you get the passport. There are some pros to the passport, certainly as far as travel within basically South America. It's not a super weak passport, actually. I'm surprised by how many countries are visa free really from Ecuador. I don't know what the cons would be to having one. I think, if you're a resident here, even if you're visiting, you're still subject to all the laws. So I don't think that would really change anything. Yeah.
We thought about getting Ecuadorian citizenship, but we didn't see enough pros for doing so. Like you said, it's a lengthy process, but also I always thought if you're a citizen of a country, if there's some kind of, it seems like they have a little more power over you because now all of a sudden you're a citizen. Whereas if you're just a resident, you're like, you're not from here. I don't know. Like if a country goes to war, if you're like a citizen of that country, they might ask you to, that kind of stuff.
Sounds like your wife talking. I'm thinking here. Okay. Let's see. Dark Doll asks, is it hard to find house rentals that allow pets?
I would say no, not really. Apartments typically won't allow pets. Actually, that's not even true. I think you can have sometimes a cat maybe, or a small dog. Yeah. Actually, people are very flexible here when it comes to these things. Ecuadorians, in general, they'll let you rent something, no matter if you have kids, if you have pets, and that kind of stuff.
Jasper, going back to the previous wealth tax question, asks, wealth only in Ecuador or worldwide? As far as that one time, in 2016, when that happened, I don't believe they had passed the law yet, which they now have, where you're supposed to report your foreign holdings. So at that time, I believe that did not include foreign holdings. I think now you're supposed to, I'm not a lawyer and accountant. I really shouldn't talk about this much, but I believe, this could be wrong, I believe that you're supposed to report now in Ecuador your foreign holdings as well, or at least of a certain type.
Okay.
But again, there's no tax on that to my knowledge at all. My wife is Vietnamese and owns a nail salon. Is there a market for a nail salon in Vilcabamba? There are nail salons here. I don't know how many. I've never got
at least 2 that I know of. There's one right next to us here.
Yeah. There's a few. I don't know how many there are. My wife goes and gets her nails done, and people do that. I don't know. It's not something
all I can say is typically those nail salon owners, they won't speak English. So if there was a nail salon that you could speak English with, that there could be a market for that, just from
and maybe something that was a little different, more posh, was a little more service and a little more sort of the bells and whistles. Okay, Bright Light asks, are you able to bring a vehicle from the States when you move to Ecuador? No. Asher Burley asks, are there any alternative festivals or events that take place in the Vilcabamba area? They're becoming very common here in the UK and are a good way to connect like-minded people. There are. I wouldn't say they're super often or anything, but we had a wellness festival a while back. There's some art stuff that goes on here and there. There was a party, I think it was last weekend, that was sort of based around exposing some type of musician to the area, or the area to the musician, I should say. There's concerts and different things like that, but I don't know, not a ton of festivals.
Not a ton. There was a big festival back in the days. It was the Water Woman Festival. It was it was like, were you there back then? Absolutely. I don't think I ever went to that, but I knew about it. Yeah. It was very popular. There were hundreds and hundreds of people. I think if you want to organize a festival, it'd probably be welcomed here.
It's the right time. Yeah.
Yeah, COVID, like everything was kind of dead. Even the wellness festival that was like still during, the restrictions and stuff. That was a big turnaround though. It was hundreds of people.
Yeah. What is the average price to rent for a 2-bedroom house in Vilcabamba? Is Vilca dog friendly?
Average price, I mean, it varies, but yeah, probably $350, $400, 2-bedroom house. Maybe, that might have gone up a little bit by now.
Yeah.
If it's all furnished, maybe around 500.
Yeah. Yeah, and you certainly can spend more than that. Depends how much
Yeah.
how much luxury you're looking for.
Right.
But yeah, average, that's 400 or so is probably.
I would say it's very dog friendly.
Yeah.
There are a lot of stray dogs around. I mean, dogs,
She means for rentals. Oh, maybe
Oh.
she means in general.
Vilca
Oh,
dog
sorry,
friendly.
yeah.
Yeah, it's dog friendly. I mean,
sure.
Yeah.
There's none of those laws here, right? There's not
Right.
like this is a pretty relaxed place to live. Roman asks, what about commercial businesses for sale in Vilca town, in the town area? Any availability? Are the prices high? It's not as common here to sell businesses. Those opportunities do exist. They do happen. I don't really know of many for sale right now that I could talk about. So I would say probably not as much availability as you might be used to.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. I mean, there have been restaurants that have closed and sort of wanted to sell or that have, yeah, but there's not much that I can't think of anything right now.
Okay, I'm married to an Ecuadorian. Does it make the process easier to get citizenship? Yes, it does. It's faster. Okay. Jasper says he believes we're correct. I think we're talking again about the wealth tax. I think so, Jasper. That's my understanding. If you want to reach out, I can certainly put you in touch with an accountant who can talk about all that stuff in depth. Saucer asks, do you guys love Ecuador and why? I do, man. I freaking love Ecuador. I love it here. I love Vilcabamba in particular, but the whole country is wonderful. The things I love about it personally, I'm just very comfortable here. I really like the culture. I like the way people relate to each other. I like the way people relate to life. I really like the adjustment between sort of a very transactional culture where money and speed and sort of rules the day, and everything's kind of based on what you can do for one another and how quickly you can do it and what you get out of it and financially and all that kind of stuff. And Ecuador is just not about that. It's all about relationships. People are very, people are very balanced in their approach. They understand when you have family commitments. There's no pressure on people to sort of, forego activities or family life or things they want to do for business or for commerce or whatever. I really appreciate that. Just the kind of the way people relate to life and each other. These are probably the things I appreciate the most. Now, beyond that, of course, the nature and the climate and the varied activities and all that stuff is A+ as well. It's a very varied country, right? You've got the Amazonian region, you've got the Sierra, the mountains, you've got the coast, you even got the Galapagos. There's nooks and crannies all over. Anything you're looking for, you can find. I also personally really appreciate how much opportunities there is in business and in entrepreneurship. That's something that is really valuable to me as well. And I could keep going, but yeah, I absolutely love it here.
Yeah, I mean, I second everything you said. I don't think there's that much more to say. I love this place as well. I've been here 11 years, almost 11 years. I got here in my early 20s, so I've been here quite a while, for like a third of my life. And yeah, I've gotten very, very comfortable in this culture. Speaking the language has helped me tremendously. Yeah, and for all the reasons that Jesse states, I love this place. I feel very comfortable here. I feel very, very welcome. I have a lot of friends, a lot of, yeah, it's just a great place to live. For the weather's amazing, the food's amazing, the lifestyle's great, plenty of friends, community, all of that is good. Cost of living is low. It's easy to make things happen. I mean, it's become more and more easy for us to make things happen. You can almost make anything you want happen if you have the right mindset and the right connections. So all of that, yeah, it's a great place to be.
No, you touched on several things there that I didn't mention that are right at the top of the list, like the community here and the friends and the people and the food, the quality of the produce and the fruits, and then the maneuverability that you're mentioning. being able to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. That is just such a difference between here and other places, something I really appreciate.
Yeah, yeah.
Roman says, are the taxes for owning commercial real estate higher in Vilca? Any other city taxes required? No, absolutely not. We're in the canton of Loja. Everything is taxed through, all those tax rules come out of Loja for the entire canton, and there is no local taxes, almost don't exist. Taxes in Ecuador are essentially done at the federal level.
Yeah. Yeah, but just a distinction, urban areas versus rural areas, the taxes are very different. So like a commercial real estate would be in an urban area, it will be higher than, you know, a similar property in rural area, but it doesn't matter whether it's in Vilca or Loja.
But which taxes would you mean would be higher?
Property tax is what I mean. Commercial real estate.
It's the same. I mean, it's the same formula. You just mean it might be assessed higher. Is that what you mean?
Is it the same formula?
To my knowledge, yeah.
I thought the taxes are higher in urban areas just because it's urban.
The formula is different, you thought?
I thought so.
Okay, I don't think so, but that's
okay.
It's possible.
We'll look into it.
Yeah. I don't think they're beeping at us. Okay, where are we at here? Can you recommend an architecture firm for contemporary design, open concept, single family home, 4 to 5 bedrooms, 3,800 to 4,000 feet? Does your firm handle general contracting? Great question, Edward, and absolutely. So if you want to just shoot us an email, we can send you several firms that we recommend, that can execute a project like that really well. We don't handle the general contracting in-house. Vitaly asks, can you bring I got the hiccups. Can you bring a utility trailer to Ecuador? If yes, do you know what the import tax would be? I mean, they sell them in Ecuador. I don't know if you could bring one. I'm sure you could.
You put it in a container, maybe.
Well, or you just, import it. You just ship it in and pay whatever those taxes are. I don't know what those taxes would be.
But they're pretty high on vehicles, so it might be something similar, like a 35, 40%. It's pretty high here for imported vehicles, which we can't import as foreigners, but they are being imported here.
Yeah. Well, you can import them. You just can't bring them tax-free in your shipping container. Like when you move here, you could import them through someone who has an import license, which you could get an import license yourself. You're just going to pay all the taxes. Okay. Margaret says, is temp or residency more difficult than Mexico is? Now Mexico has updated financial requirements. I have to bail now from Mexico since I live on Social Security. Yeah, they've updated it here as well. I don't know the rules in Mexico. We just put out a video with Joseph Guznai, who's really the leading expert on visas here in Ecuador. So I'd recommend you watch that. Reach out to Joseph, shoot us an email. We can give you his contact if you don't have it. But yeah, Ecuador is one of the easiest places in the world to relocate to get residency in. The current requirements on the income, the monthly income did go up. So I think they're up to, I don't know, somewhere around 12 or $1,200 a month or something now that they're requiring that you prove. All right, we're gonna do a couple more here, guys, and jump out of here. I'm actually gonna go have dinner at the Thai restaurant again because I like that place. Let's see. Jasper says, what about bringing electric vehicles? I just had an electric pickup truck delivered and I'd love to bring it. Yeah, I mean, again, you could possibly find, theoretically, and I'd have to look into this, theoretically, you could import it and pay all the taxes. You're just not going to be able to bring it tax-free.
Yeah, and I think the import laws is 3 years or no older than 3 years old. So if the vehicle or whatever is older than 3 years old, they will not allow it to be imported in Ecuador. It needs to be basically.
Is that right? Yeah, I know there's some rules about that. You obviously know them. I don't know them. Yeah. Okay, Saucer Tennis, thank you, Saucer. We appreciate you in our prayers as well. Roman says, have you visited Baños yet? If so, can you talk about any favorite small cities above Loja to the north that are great to visit? I assume you mean Baños in the Orient and not Baños outside of Cuenca. I've driven through. I've never spent time there. It's a cool place.
I've never been. No, I've actually never been. It's on my bucket list. But
it's a place where they do a lot of action sports and there's a lot of there's a lot of waterfalls and different activities like that. It's definitely a popular place. I think it's probably worth checking out. As far as small towns, there's probably a million. small cities, I should say. Yeah, no, small cities. I don't personally. I mean, I think in the Sierra, I really think Loja is where it's at. The cities basically are Loja, Cuenca, Quito, Riobamba. I don't know. Am I missing maybe a couple of smaller ones? But to me, Loja is just the warmest of all of those. It's the best culture of all of those. It's the most livable. It's the safest, and so on and so forth. There's a million nice towns, but in the Sierra, I don't know. I personally prefer Loja. I don't know if you've got.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, there's some things between here and Quito that are kind of worth checking out. I know more between here and Cuenca. I would say Saraguro is kind of cool to check out, but it wouldn't be considered a city. It's a very indigenous town, bigger than Vilcabamba. There's some interesting restaurants. They make a lot of agricultural products there. They also have the indigenous clothing and things like this. That's definitely worth checking out. Cuenca is a beautiful city. I love going there. I wouldn't live there, but I like to go visit it. Right around Cuenca, I don't know if it's north or south of Cuenca, but there's Baños de Cuenca that has hot springs. So there's a few resorts there you can go to get some hot springs, spa, massage, all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. All right, last question. We're going to jump out of here. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in and making a great chat. Margot asks, who can I contact to learn about the history of Ecuador? And the best way to learn Spanish. I'm 71. It's hard to train old dogs new tricks. It really is hard. Well, we'll start with the Spanish part. I think you can immerse yourself in it, which I think is probably the best way. And you can certainly, supplement that with some study, whether that's through a textbook or one of the programs that they have. As far as who to contact to learn about the history of Ecuador, gosh, I know people, that would know about it. Who to contact, I don't.
I mean, I can say most Ecuadorians learn this stuff in school. I mean, they all do actually. So they all know sort of about the history. Now, there is a Spanish tutor in Vilcabamba that I like to recommend. I'm sure she would know about Ecuadorian history, and could also tutor and teach Spanish at the same time. So you can maybe be learning both with, I think most Ecuadorians would know about Spanish. I mean, it's not Spanish history, it's Ecuadorian history. So they learn it in school.
All right. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Again, the retreat kicks off July 16th. We'd love to have you down here. Other than that, we're going to go have a little dinner and hang out. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you tomorrow evening for the Q&A on investing. Have a great night. All right.